The wedding invitation sat on my desk for 3 weeks before I agreed to go. Not because I hate weddings, though I do, but because Claire had that look in her eyes when she mentioned it. That hungry, restless look that meant she was already planning something I wouldn't like. "It'll be fun, Tom," she'd said, not looking up from her phone. "You never want to do anything anymore." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Tom Brennan, 38, CEO of a mid-sized law firm in upstate New York, and I've spent the last decade building something from nothing. My wife Claire is a project manager at a tech consulting firm, beautiful and charismatic in ways that make people forget I exist when we're in the same room. We've been married 11 years. For the first 5, I thought we were happy. The wedding was at the Riverside Estate, one of those venues where everything costs triple because they put estate in the name. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, a string quartet playing something pretentious. Claire wore a red dress that cost more than my first car. I wore the suit she'd picked out, the one that made me look like I was apologizing for existing. "You could smile," Claire said as we walked in. "You look like you're attending a funeral." "Maybe I am," I muttered. She didn't hear me. She was already scanning the room, her face lighting up when she spotted someone. Jason Martinez, her coworker. 6'2", gym sculpted, with that easy confidence that comes from never being told no. He waved. She waved back, her whole body language changing, opening up in ways it hadn't for me in years. "I'm going to say hi," she announced, already moving. I grabbed a drink from the bar and found a corner. My best friend Pete was supposed to be here, but he'd texted an hour ago saying he was stuck at work. Pete's an ex-cop turned private security consultant, the kind of guy who actually returns your calls, unlike most of my so-called friends. The ceremony was fine, generic vows, crying bridesmaids, the usual performance, but during the reception, things shifted. Claire danced with Jason 3 times, not once with me. When I asked, she said her feet hurt. 5 minutes later, she was laughing as Jason spun her around, her head thrown back, her hand on his chest. I nursed my whiskey and watched. Sophie and Amanda, Claire's closest friends, kept glancing at me with those pitying looks women give when they know something you don't. Or worse, something you do know but are pretending not to. "Your wife seems to be having fun," someone said. I turned. It was Greg, one of the partners at my firm, holding a martini and wearing that smug expression he'd perfected over 20 years of corporate law. "Yeah," I said. "She does. Jason's a good-looking guy. You worried?" The question was designed to probe, to find weakness. Greg specialized in that. "Not even a little," I lied. He chuckled and walked away. I finished my drink and went outside for air. The garden was lit with string lights, romantic and cliché. I found a bench near the fountain and sat down, loosening my tie. The music from inside was muffled, a bass thump that matched my headache. That's when I heard them. Claire's laugh, breathy and intimate. Jason's lower voice, saying something I couldn't make out. I stood up, moving quietly toward the hedge maze that bordered the garden. They were just around the corner, hidden from the main path, but visible if you knew where to look. Claire was pressed against the hedge, Jason's hand on her waist. They weren't kissing, not quite, but the space between them crackled with intent. She was looking up at him the way she used to look at me, back when we were young and stupid and thought love was enough. "Tom's so boring," she said, her voice carrying in the quiet. "It's like living with a piece of furniture, expensive furniture that pays the bills, but still." Jason laughed. "You deserve better." "I know." Something cold settled in my chest. Not surprise, exactly. More like confirmation. I'd suspected for months, maybe longer. The late nights, the distance, the way she flinched when I touched her. But hearing it, seeing it, made it real. I stepped back, my shoe crunching on gravel. They didn't notice. I walked back inside, got another drink, and sat at our table. 20 minutes later, Claire returned, her lipstick slightly smudged. "Where were you?" I asked. "Bathroom," she said, not meeting my eyes. "This place is huge." "Yeah," I said. "It is." The rest of the night blurred. More dancing, more drinks, more of Claire pretending I didn't exist. Around midnight, a drunk groomsman stumbled up to Claire and asked if she was married. She glanced at me, then smiled at him. "Not really," she said. The groomsman laughed. I stood up and walked out. Claire didn't follow. I drove home alone, the city lights streaking past, and made myself a promise. If she wanted interesting, I'd give her interesting. If she wanted a reaction, she'd get one, but it would be on my terms, in my time, and when I was done, she'd regret every word she'd ever said about me being boring. I woke up Sunday morning to an empty house. Claire had texted around 3 a.m. "Staying at Sophie's. Don't wait up." I hadn't. I'd spent the night in my office, staring at the ceiling and planning. The first step was information. You can't fight what you don't understand, and I didn't understand the full scope of what I was dealing with. How long had this been going on? Was it just emotional, or had they crossed other lines? Who else knew? I started in the obvious place. Her phone. Claire was careless about security, using the same password for everything, our anniversary, because she thought it was romantic. I cloned her phone to my laptop using software my firm had purchased for a client case last year. Perfectly legal, assuming you own the device. Claire's phone was on our family plan. I owned it. The messages loaded slowly, thousands of them. I made coffee and started reading. The affair had been going on for 7 months, 7 months of lies, of working late, of business trips that weren't quite business. The messages were explicit, mocking, cruel. Jason called me the wallet. Claire called me extra weight. They joked about how oblivious I was, how easy it was to fool me. There was more. Plans to leave me, but not yet. Claire wanted to wait until I closed a big case next month, something that would net me a substantial bonus. She wanted her share of that before filing for divorce. Jason thought it was brilliant. "Milk him dry first," he'd written. "Guy's too dumb to see it coming." I sat back, the coffee cold in my hands. Rage would have been easier. Rage is simple, directional. What I felt was colder, more calculated. They'd made a mistake. They'd underestimated me. Everyone always did. I was boring, forgettable, the guy who paid the bills and kept his head down. But boring doesn't mean stupid, and forgettable means no one sees you coming. I called Pete. He answered on the second ring, his voice rough with sleep. "Tom, it's 8 in the morning on a Sunday. Someone better be gone." "Not yet," I said, "but I need your help." "What kind of help?" "The kind you're good at. Information gathering, surveillance, the legal stuff," I added, because Pete was careful about that. There was a pause. "What's going on?" "Claire's cheating. With a guy from her work. I need to know everything." Another pause. "You sure you want to go down this road? Sometimes ignorance is easier." "I'm sure." "All right, send me what you've got. I'll dig." I sent him the messages, Jason's full name, and Claire's work address. Pete was thorough. If there was dirt, he'd find it. Claire came home around noon, breezy and unapologetic. She'd changed into casual clothes, her hair still damp from a shower. Sophie's shower, presumably. Or maybe Jason's. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag by the door. "How was your night?" "Fine," I said. "Yours?" "Good. We watched movies and talked. I needed that." "I'm sure." She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just glad you had fun." She studied me for a moment, then shrugged and headed upstairs. I heard the shower start again. My phone buzzed. Pete. "Found something. Call me." I went to my office and closed the door. Pete answered immediately. "Jason Martinez," he said. 34, Works at Tech Consult Solutions, same as Claire. Clean record, no arrests. But he's got financial problems. Maxed out credit cards, 2 personal loans, and he's behind on his car payments. Guy lives way beyond his means. Interesting. There's more. He's been flagged twice at work for inappropriate conduct. Nothing formal, but HR's got complaints from 2 female employees about unwanted advances. The company swept it under the rug both times because he's good at his job. Send me everything. Already did. Tom, what are you planning? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Pete was quiet for a moment. Be careful. Revenge can get messy. So can betrayal. I spent the rest of the day reading through Pete's files and planning. Jason was vulnerable, financially and professionally. Claire was overconfident, assuming I'd never find out, or if I did, that I'd roll over and take it. They were both wrong. Monday morning, I went to work early and pulled up the contact information for Tech Consult Solutions' HR department. I drafted an anonymous email, carefully worded to avoid anything that could be traced back to me. It detailed Jason's inappropriate conduct, included screenshots of his messages with Claire that showed him bragging about manipulating female coworkers, and suggested they investigate before it became a legal problem. I hit send and went about my day. The next few weeks were a masterclass in patience. I acted normal, even affectionate. Claire seemed relieved that I wasn't asking questions. She grew bolder, staying out later, making less effort to hide her tracks. Jason started coming to our house for work meetings, sitting at my kitchen table, drinking my coffee, probably laughing at me behind my back. I documented everything: photos, timestamps, recordings from the security cameras I'd quietly installed. I was building a case, the way I'd built hundreds of cases for clients. Evidence, motive, opportunity. All I needed was the right moment to strike. That moment came at the firm's annual charity gala. It was a black tie event, the kind of thing Claire loved. She'd bought a new dress, spent hours getting ready. Jason was going to be there. His company was one of the sponsors. I wore my best suit and played the doting husband. We arrived together, posed for photos, mingled with the crowd. Claire was radiant, glowing in a way she never did at home. Jason arrived late, making an entrance. He spotted Claire and smiled. She smiled back. I excused myself to talk to Greg and some other partners. We discussed business, made small talk, the usual networking dance. But I was watching Claire and Jason. They were trying to be subtle, but I knew what to look for. The lingering glances, the way they positioned themselves to always be in each other's line of sight. Around 9, the gala organizers announced a raffle. Prizes donated by sponsors, all for charity. I'd made a generous donation earlier and pulled some strings with the event coordinator, a woman who owed me a favor from a pro bono case I'd handled for her sister. And now, the coordinator said, her voice bright, a special surprise. We have a multimedia presentation from one of our top donors, Tom Brennan. Claire looked confused. I smiled at her and walked to the stage. The lights dimmed. The screen behind me lit up. The first image was Claire and Jason at the wedding, dancing close. Innocent enough. Then another, from a hotel parking lot. Jason's hand on her back. Then messages, blown up large enough for the entire room to read. Tom's so boring. It's like living with furniture. The wallet doesn't suspect a thing. We'll take him for everything after the bonus. The room went silent. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me, then shifting to Claire. She was frozen, her face pale. Jason had gone red, his jaw clenched. I just wanted everyone to know, I said, my voice calm, what true partnership looks like. Claire, Jason, congratulations. You played the game well. But you forgot one thing. I'm a lawyer. I know how to build a case. I walked off the stage. The room erupted in whispers. Claire tried to approach me, but Sophie and Amanda blocked her, their faces cold. They'd known, I realized. They'd watched her betray me and said nothing. Now they were distancing themselves, protecting their own reputations. Jason tried a different approach. He came at me fast, his face twisted in rage. "You son of a—" I sidestepped. Jason's momentum carried him forward, straight into the buffet table. Shrimp and cocktail sauce went flying. He hit the floor hard, the entire room watching. Security was there in seconds, hauling him up and escorting him out. He was shouting, incoherent, humiliated. Claire was crying. I walked past her without a word and left. The fallout was immediate and brutal. By morning, the video from the gala had gone viral. Someone had recorded the whole thing and posted it online. Cheating wife and lover exposed at charity event was trending locally. Claire's phone was blowing up. So was mine, but I ignored it. Pete called around noon. "You really did it." "I did." "How do you feel?" "Good," I said, and I meant it. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Jason's company launched a formal investigation into his conduct. The anonymous email I'd sent, combined with the public scandal, forced their hand. Within a week, he was placed on administrative leave. His financial problems, now public knowledge, made him toxic. No one wanted to be associated with him. Claire tried to salvage her job, but her reputation was shattered. Her boss called her in for a meeting. I knew because I'd arranged for Pete to have a contact in their HR department. Claire was given a choice: resign quietly or face a formal review that would likely end in termination. She resigned. Her friends abandoned her. Sophie and Amanda, who'd known about the affair and said nothing, were now being gossiped about themselves. Their complicity made them pariahs. They tried to spin it, to claim they'd told Claire to stop, but no one believed them. Claire came home one evening, her eyes red from crying. She found me in the living room reading. "We need to talk," she said. "Do we?" "Tom, please, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'll do anything to fix this." I looked up from my book. "Anything?" "Yes." "Then leave. Pack your things and get out. This is my house too." "Actually, it's not. The house is in my name. I bought it before we got married. You have no legal claim to it." Her face crumpled. "You can't do this." "I can, and I am. You have until the end of the week." She tried to argue, but I went back to my book. Eventually, she left the room. I heard her on the phone, probably calling Jason. Good luck with that. Last I heard, he was couch surfing because he couldn't make rent. Claire filed for separation and demanded half of everything. I'd expected that. What she didn't expect was that I'd already moved most of my assets into accounts she couldn't touch. Legal, carefully structured, and completely ironclad. My lawyer, a woman named Patricia who specialized in high-conflict divorces, smiled when she saw Claire's filing. "She's got nothing," Patricia said. "The affair, the messages, the public humiliation, no judge is going to give her a dime beyond what the law requires, and that's not much." "Good. You're thorough, Tom. I'm impressed. I'm motivated." The court date was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, Claire tried everything. She showed up at my office, crying and begging. I had security escort her out. She called my sister Erin, hoping for sympathy. Erin, who ran a cafe downtown and had never liked Claire, told her to lose her number. Jason tried to contact me too. A pathetic email asking me to call off the dogs. I didn't respond. His debt collectors were doing my work for me. He'd borrowed money from some shady people to maintain his lifestyle, and they weren't as patient as credit card companies. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. I received an email from an anonymous account. No subject line, just a video attachment. I almost deleted it, assuming it was spam, but something made me open it. It was footage from the wedding, Claire and Jason kissing in the garden. But the angle was deliberate, calculated. Someone had filmed this on purpose. The email had no message, but the implication was clear. They had more, and they wanted something in return. I called Pete. "I need you to trace an email. Send it over." He called back an hour later. "It's complicated. The account was set up through a VPN, but I found some metadata. The email was sent from a coffee shop downtown. I pulled security footage. You're not going to believe this. Try me. Amanda, Claire's friend, she sent it. I sat back, processing. Amanda. The woman who'd been at Claire's side through everything, who'd known about the affair and said nothing. She'd been the one to film it, to document it, and now she was trying to blackmail me. Why? I asked. Jealousy, maybe? Revenge? I did some digging. Amanda's been in love with Jason for years. He rejected her for Claire. Maybe she's been waiting for this. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Claire hadn't just betrayed me. She'd surrounded herself with people who hated her, who were waiting for her to fall so they could kick her while she was down. What do you want to do? Pete asked. Nothing. Let Amanda think she has leverage. It'll make what comes next even better. The court hearing was a spectacle. Claire showed up with a lawyer she couldn't afford, probably borrowed money from her parents. I showed up with Patricia and a binder full of evidence. Text messages, financial records, witness statements. Everything documented, organized, irrefutable. The judge was a woman in her 60s, sharp-eyed and no nonsense. She listened to Claire's lawyer argue for alimony, for a share of my assets, for fairness. Then Patricia stood up. Your Honor, the defendant engaged in a prolonged extramarital affair, during which she and her partner openly mocked my client and planned to defraud him financially. We have documented evidence of this, including messages in which Mrs. Brennan explicitly states her intention to wait until after my client received a work bonus before filing for divorce, in order to maximize her financial gain. The judge's expression didn't change, but I saw the shift. Claire's lawyer tried to object, but Patricia kept going. Furthermore, Mrs. Brennan has no legal claim to the marital home, as it was purchased by my client prior to their marriage and remains solely in his name. Her employment was terminated due to her own conduct, and she has made no effort to secure new employment. My client has been more than generous in offering a minimal settlement, which we believe is fair given the circumstances. The judge reviewed the evidence. It took 20 minutes. Then she ruled. Claire got nothing. No alimony, no share of the house, no claim to my assets. She was entitled to half of the joint savings account, which amounted to about $12,000. Everything else was mine. Claire's face was a mask of shock. Her lawyer tried to argue, but the judge shut him down. Mrs. Brennan, the judge said, you made your choices. Now you live with the consequences. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Case dismissed. Claire stumbled out of the courtroom, her lawyer trailing behind. I shook Patricia's hand and walked out into the sunlight. It felt like victory, but I wasn't finished. Jason's situation deteriorated rapidly. The debt collectors found him at his new apartment, a studio in a bad part of town. He tried to run, but they were faster. I didn't arrange it. Didn't have to. His own bad decisions had caught up with him. Claire tried to reconcile with Jason, but he wanted nothing to do with her. She was a liability now, a reminder of his downfall. He moved out of state, leaving her alone. Amanda's blackmail attempt fizzled. I never responded to her email, and she never followed up. Pete found out later that she'd been fired from her job for unrelated reasons and had moved back in with her parents. Karma, maybe. Or just bad luck. Claire stayed in town, working a retail job and living in a tiny apartment. I saw her once, a few months later, at a grocery store. She looked tired, older. She saw me too, started to say something, then stopped. I walked past without a word. Aaron told me later that Claire had tried to reach out to her, asking for help. Aaron had refused. She made her bed, Aaron said. Now she can lie in it. I moved on. Sold the house, bought a condo downtown. Started dating again, casually. Focused on work. The firm was doing well, better than ever. The scandal had ironically raised my profile. People respected someone who fought back, who didn't just take it. Pete and I had dinner one night, a few months after everything settled. We were at a steakhouse, the kind of place with dim lighting and overpriced wine. You did it, Pete said, raising his glass. You got your revenge. I did. How does it feel? I thought about it. Satisfying, but also empty. Like I won a game I never wanted to play. That's life, man. Sometimes you don't get to choose the game. You just play the hand you're dealt. Yeah. We drank in silence for a moment. Then Pete leaned back, a grin on his face. So, what now? Now? I smiled. Now I live. On my terms. No more extra weight. Boring, huh? I laughed. Guess I finally got interesting. The final blow came 6 months later. I was at the firm, reviewing a case, when my assistant buzzed me. Tom, there's someone here to see you. She says it's urgent. Who? Claire Brennan. I considered turning her away, but curiosity won. Send her in. Claire walked in, and I barely recognized her. She'd lost weight, her clothes were cheap, her hair unstyled. She looked defeated. Tom, she said, her voice shaking. I need your help. With what? Jason. He's suing me. He says I ruined his life, that I owe him for lost wages and emotional distress. I can't afford a lawyer. I thought maybe you... Maybe I what? Help you? Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I have no one else. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. This was the woman who'd called me boring, who'd mocked me, who'd planned to rob me blind. Now she was here, begging. No, I said. Tom, no. You made your choices, Claire. You chose Jason. You chose to lie, to cheat, to humiliate me. Now you get to live with that. I'm not your safety net. I'm not your wallet. I'm not anything to you anymore. She started crying. I didn't move. Get out, I said. She left, sobbing. I watched her go, feeling nothing. Not anger, not pity, just a cold, quiet satisfaction. That night, I got a call from Pete. You hear about Jason? No. What? He's in the hospital. Got jumped by those loan sharks. Broken ribs. Concussion. He'll live, but he's in bad shape. Good. Tom, I didn't do anything. I didn't have to. He did this to himself. Yeah, I guess he did. I hung up and poured myself a drink. Whiskey. Neat. I stood at the window of my condo, looking out at the city lights, and thought about everything that had happened. The wedding, the betrayal, the revenge. It had been brutal, calculated, and completely justified. Claire had wanted excitement, wanted something more than boring old Tom. Well, she got it. She got the full force of what happens when you underestimate someone, when you think you're smarter than you are. And me? I got my life back. No more extra weight, no more pretending. Just me, on my terms, living the way I wanted. I raised my glass to the city and smiled. Boring, huh? Guess I finally got interesting. The story should have ended there. Clean, satisfying, complete. But life doesn't work that way. There's always one more twist, one more surprise. 2 weeks later, I was at Aaron's cafe having coffee and catching up. The place was busy, filled with the usual morning crowd. Aaron was behind the counter, making drinks and chatting with customers. I was at a corner table, reading the news on my phone. That's when Claire walked in. She didn't see me at first. She went straight to the counter and ordered a coffee. Aaron's face went cold, but she made the drink without a word. Claire paid, turned to leave, and froze when she saw me. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she walked over. Tom, she said. Claire, can I sit? It's a free country. She sat down, cradling her coffee. She looked worse than the last time I'd seen her. Thinner, paler, like she hadn't slept in days. I'm not here to ask for anything, she said. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I was stupid and selfish, and I hurt you. I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't expect you to, but I needed to say it. I looked at her, this woman I'd spent 11 years with, and felt nothing. No anger, no pity, no regret, just a vague sense of closure. Okay, I said. Okay? You said your piece. I heard it. Now you can go. She nodded, stood up, and walked out. Erin came over a minute later, sliding into the seat Claire had vacated. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah, I'm good." She looked terrible. She brought it on herself. I know, but still, it's sad. Maybe, but it's not my problem anymore. Erin studied me for a moment, then smiled. "You've changed, Tom. You're harder now." "Is that a bad thing?" "No, I think it's what you needed." We finished our coffee and talked about other things. Work, family, plans for the holidays, normal things, life moving forward. That evening, I got one last message, from Amanda. It was short, just a few words. "You won. Congratulations." I deleted it without responding. There was nothing left to say. A year later, I was at another wedding. This time, Pete's. He'd met someone, a woman named Rachel, who worked in cybersecurity. They were good together, easy and happy in a way that felt genuine. I stood at the bar, watching them dance, and thought about my own wedding. How hopeful I'd been. How naive. I'd thought marriage was a partnership, that love was enough. I'd learned the hard way that it wasn't. But I'd also learned something else. I was stronger than I thought, smarter, more capable. I'd taken the worst thing that had ever happened to me and turned it into a victory. Not a perfect victory, not a clean one, but a victory nonetheless. "You look thoughtful," someone said. I turned. It was Rachel's sister, a woman named Emily, brunette, sharp-eyed with a smile that was equal parts friendly and curious. "Just reminiscing," I said. "Good memories or bad?" "Both," she laughed. "That's honest. I like that." We talked for a while, easy conversation that didn't feel forced. She was a teacher, loved her job, had a dry sense of humor that reminded me of Pete. When the night ended, she gave me her number. "In case you want to reminisce some more," she said. I took it, smiling. "Maybe I will." I didn't call her right away. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. But I kept the number, a reminder that life moved forward, that there were still good things ahead. Claire and Jason were in the past, footnotes in a story that was still being written, and I was the one holding the pen. The final confrontation came on a stormy night in late October. I was at home, working late, when someone pounded on my door. I opened it to find Jason, soaked from the rain, his face wild. "We need to talk," he said. "No, we don't." "You ruined my life. You ruined your own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it." He tried to push past me. I blocked him, and he swung. I'd taken self-defense classes after the divorce, partly for practical reasons, partly because I needed an outlet. I caught his wrist, twisted, and shoved him back. He stumbled, fell, landed hard on the porch. "Stay down," I said. He didn't. He got up, lunged again. This time I didn't hold back. I hit him, hard, in the stomach. He doubled over, gasping. I grabbed him by the collar and dragged him to the edge of the porch. "You want to blame someone?" I said. "Blame yourself. You thought you were smarter than me. You thought I'd just roll over and take it, but you were wrong. And now you're paying the price." I let him go. He collapsed, coughing, rain pouring down on both of us. I pulled out my phone and called the police. "I have an intruder," I said. "He tried to attack me." The cops arrived 10 minutes later. Jason was still on the porch, too beaten down to run. They arrested him for trespassing and assault. I gave a statement, calm and precise. The officers were sympathetic. One of them recognized me from the gala scandal. "You're that guy," he said, "the lawyer whose wife cheated." "Yeah." "Good for you, man, standing up for yourself." They took Jason away. I watched the patrol car disappear into the rain, then went inside and locked the door. I poured myself a drink, sat down, and thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the revenge, the fallout. It had been brutal and exhausting, but it was over. Finally, completely over. I picked up my phone and called Emily. She answered on the third ring. "Tom?" "Hey, I know it's late, but I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner sometime. She laughed. I thought you'd never ask. How's Friday? Friday's perfect. We talked for a few more minutes, then said goodnight. I hung up, smiling, and looked around my condo. It was quiet, peaceful, mine. Claire and Jason were gone. The past was behind me, and for the first time in years I felt free. Boring, huh? Guess I finally got interesting.